is. And of course, over here is the other view, the side view or the front view, or the posterior, the anterior view. And well, let's do a side view. Okay, so instead the carpal bones metacarpals end up here, and the phalanges here, and well, one finger's pointing, the other fingers are twisted down, the pinky's coming this way or something like that. So that's about the shape of that. And somewhere here is the title, the bones of the hand, or the hands and the muscles, something like that, whatever. Be careful with the title. I had some student some time back that he wrote one of the, not an English major, his title on a project was The Bones of the Muscles.
What?
That was what he called it. Big letters, bold and pure, right in the middle of his paper. Bones of the muscles. Which is certainly not a complete sentence. Not that they have to be complete sentences, but think of that. And so what I'm doing here is thinking, okay, right, in terms of my composition and design for just a couple seconds, is okay, I'm going to have my call-outs that my phalanges and stuff will all be here, and I'll just put little numbers and stuff around this thing to designate where that goes. And that's about the way I'm thinking this may work out. And ideally, what artists do is we create a piece of art, and then we put a frame around it. If it's a good piece of work, you put a frame around it. And so what I might just do then is, okay, here is my frame. This is how big that I want to see this look. Okay, that's not bad. That's the way I do a rough or a thumbnail. And what I'm doing here is I have a problem doing the box initially, by the way, the box, and then trying to draw those things in it. That's harder for me. Okay. This way, I'm kind of sketching out, and I'm making these whatever size feels comfortable for me for a rough, figuring out about where I want my type, the whole problem, the whole design problem, and then I'm just figuring out, well, how much space do I want around that? And artistically, that's what we do. We create a painting. It's mostly blue and got some oranges in it and whatever, and I think this kind of frame would fit around it. We crop it down to the right size. I tend to do a lot of work lately on these masonite pieces, like that stuff there. I prime it and gesso it and then do whatever on it, and then I'll paint on it. And then hang on one second. And then what I find myself doing then is, well, the shape of that doesn't work for me. I just cut it down with a table saw. Instead of working on a canvas that's stretched or something like that, where the frame is already there and it's stretched around it, and I have to work within that frame, and I'm stuck with it. So I've actually had ways to edit, along the way. The question was?
So it doesn't have to be this particular size, like you can start with this size, but you can be whatever
Yeah,
size.
I've had some students also end up with pieces that ended up being these longer sort of things like this. And that's okay, as long as it works as a composition. It makes for an interesting portfolio shape or something like that. I even did that because I tend to do a lot of pieces that I did a piece that's in the gallery now that's hanging my stuff that is 8 feet long and only like 9 inches high. It's kind of neat looking, because it's long, straight thing. It's a landscape, and it's a big, long vista kind of thing. And it's kind of just fun to do, and I did it in a ridiculous amount of time. It was very fast. So that's the composition problem. Okay, next is, okay, if I'm doing the drawing of these bones, I don't know what that is. Okay, so ideally, the hands, the radius and the ulnar are going to be about here, and I'm going to want the phalanges to end there. Okay, and there's a thing basically some artists refer to as like the envelope. The envelope is this. Put a bag or plastic over this, and here's the shape that we have here that we're looking at. And so the wrist starts here, and basically the fingers end up. We have a shape kind of like that. When sculptors, we pick up a lump of clay. You get a piece of just a chunk of clay, and then you start like prodding it and pushing it and squeezing it and stretching it and doing things and taking pieces off and then putting things on. It's much easier, of course, to work in clay than stone. Any sculptors in the room know this. Stone, you chip it away, it's gone. You don't glue it back on. It's forever. But clay is nice because you can have a redo kind of thing. But you still have to start with one big shape, and that's basically one of the problems a lot of us as artists have with drawing. What a lot of us do wrong is, well, I'm going to do this thing, so I'm going to have to do the pistiform, is that little bone right there. The carpal bones is a group, but the pistiform is this little bone right here. And I'm going to spend, 15, 20, 30 minutes getting that damn thing right. Because it's a tough little thing to draw. Look at that little sucker. I'll get all these little doodads and everything else like that on. And then I'm going to spend another 15, 20 minutes on the next one, which I don't remember its name. Okay, and it's another shape in here. And what happens on occasion is we get real hung up on these little details, and by the time we get down here, the proportions don't quite work. Okay, the shapes aren't right. How many of you have drawn a figure and run out of paper? Okay, happens to a lot of us. Congratulations. And that has to do with, you got to think a little planning again. Here is Houston, there's Guatemala. And so I've got to think of the whole. And one suggestion I have is, as quickly and roughly as possible, I want to think of this little bunch, these 8 carpal bones, as a group, and go, okay, I'm thinking that's the space they'll occupy. Okay, so I have to go down to the metacarpal group, which I know is going to have to come about to this point. That metacarpal group are the 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's a 5th one actually, right there. And so this is about where they end. And I'm talking about, page layout. This thing back here that we did, the nice thing that has going for it is all right, this tells me I need X amount of space there, and X amount of space there, and a little bit of space there. That lets me know about where I want this element to fall on a page. Now I can come to here and then figure out visually where is that there. And what will happen though is the person that's doing this, I'm worried about that one little bone there, and I'm worried about the next one, and end up running out of space. What you'll do is you'll spend many hours getting down to here only to find out the proportions aren't right. Or at least you'll figure that out. And if you do that, congratulations, you're also a winner. Because you figured something out. Because something didn't work, you're smart enough to know it. You learned something. I'll ask the question in a week or two, who started it more than once? And a good number of you will raise your hand because you figured something out. I was doing it, but it wasn't quite working. There's a lot of hit and miss, folks. You shoot a lot of baskets, you miss a bunch. In baseball, Ted Williams, 1950s somewhere, before even my time, hit 400 in baseball. I mean, a legend. He hit 400. That's unbelievable. Nobody can do that. That's beyond belief. He got up at bat, and 4 times out of 10, he got a hit. That's what batting 400 is. Okay. That means he got up at bat, and 6 times out of 10, he missed. Right. You do that in a design studio, and they'll fire you. Okay. You bat 400 in a design studio, and they'll wonder what's wrong with you. But this guy can hit only 400, and they've got statues in Boston to him. They name roads after these people, Amazing, And so one of the things I'm after here is okay, let's look at the space and the shape and try to think, how do I compose it and get the elements in place so I can move forward and get that thing to finally fit on a page in that manner. Okay? And eventually, once you get some kind of an idea, okay, this is where my metacarpals are. The phalanges, okay, the first phalange is going to come to here. Normally you can take, in terms of proportion, the distance of this metacarpal right here. Take about 1/3 or 1/4 of it away, and that's the distance for that first phalange. Okay, you can take that phalange, then